Every year, tiny eels arrive to bays and rivers along the Atlantic coast. These clear glass eels will soon develop the features and color of the common American eel, a fish which lives along the eastern seaboard and its tributaries for as long as 20 years. Through their existence as juveniles and adults, we call them yellow eels. When fully mature, they return back to the sea as silver eels, to spawn and die.
This is a fascinating life cycle, very complex.
The translucent baby toothpicks arrive by the millions to a single river, and likely billions throughout their range. A year earlier, they emerged from perhaps trillions of eggs deposited by their silver-toned mothers in a corner of the Sargasso Sea. Those eggs were fertilized and dispersed randomly, leading scientists to conclude that the spawning stock breeds en masse, perhaps in a single event, which no person has ever witnessed. Researchers speculate that 50 to 100 million eels participate in the breeding event each year. In the 1980s and 90s, scientists noticed steep declines in Great Lakes eel populations. Some researchers predicted that the species was headed towards collapse. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service recognized the large declines in abundance from prehistoric and historic times, but concluded that the species currently appears stable. The government relied on many factors in its decision, but emphasized that the measurement of glass eel recruitment best represents the species' status range-wide. Since 1995, scientists, community organizations, and fishermen have worked together in Nova Scotia to measure glass eel recruitment in the region, in essence, testing the theory that the Great Lakes decline was foreshadowing a widespread collapse.
We decided that it was a super important study. It's the longest running time series of algal recruitment.
Their work has shown that glass eel recruitment has not declined in the past 25 years, and in fact suggests that the adult breeding population may be on the rise.
Even though we are fishing below the boxes, that a significant number of eels migrate past us. It's been phenomenal the last number of years. We've broken records.
I started eel fishing, must be 20 years plus. I was pretty well the only real commercial eel fishing in this area.
Fishermen in Maine and eastern Canada have harvested glass eels for more than 30 years.
By behold, if there wasn't one, there was a million going up this system. You make one dip, you see 10 times as much swim by.
Their efforts are subject to gear restrictions, daily monitoring, and strict quotas.
It's very well regulated, and as a fisherman, I like to see that. I like to see it regulated.
Eel aquaculture must start with baby eels collected in the wild. They are like seeds. At present, our fishermen simply collect the seeds and send them to Asia, along with the farming and processing jobs that they produce. Many fishermen dream of one day building eel farms and processing plants here in North America. Even with the current restrictive quotas, they estimate that the seeds harvested in North America could yield hundreds of millions of dollars worth of high-end sushi products every year. But this dream can only be realized if eel fishing is properly managed, not if it is banned.
Come up, sir, and state your name for the record, please.
Gone through a lot of cuts. In the late 90s, we did a 75% gear reduction in this fishery. In the early 2000s, we did a 70% license reduction in this fishery. Last year, we addressed a very difficult subject of poaching.
Adult eel populations are at low levels compared to historical averages. American regulators call this depletion.
I haven't seen anyone use the word extinction or endangered in connection with depletion, but that is the tone that a lot of the press takes. It's not even clear what depleted means. And based on the fact that we blocked almost 80 to 90% of the freshwater habitat for eels, who would argue that the stock is depleted from historic norms?
Fishing in an earlier era and a variety of other threats may have contributed to yellow eel depletion, but the most obvious cause was that eels were blocked from reaching much of their traditional freshwater habitat, not just by hydro dams, but also by thousands of mill ponds, road culverts, river diversions, and other blockages over the past 200 years.
My position is that this fishery, and there's a lot of evidence to this effect, but that the fishery is not a substantial cause of declines in eel populations.
In recent years, government, power companies, and private owners have removed hundreds of dams, while installing modern fish passages on many others, such as the Conowingo Dam at the head of Chesapeake Bay.
In 2008, we actually started catching substantial numbers of eels, enough to actually do a transport program, and every year we've caught more eels. Last year we transported roughly 291,000 eels above, from the base of Conowingo up into the Susquehanna watershed.
When a new eel ladder was installed a few years ago at a major dam in North Carolina, officials anticipated it would carry 30,000 juvenile eels upstream every year. Yet in a recent span of 2 years, more than 1.6 million eels moved up just that one dam.
But we've seen a lot more eels than we ever expected. We started to see 70, 100, then thousands of eels. Most recently, in late April, we had a run of 75,000 eels in one weekend.
Government research confirms that eels will reestablish themselves within just a few years, as far as 90 miles upstream, once fish blockages are removed. Still, the question arises, if adult stocks are depleted, how come baby eel recruitment has held steady for decades? The Fish and Wildlife Service has answered this question, explaining that the eel species exhibits a variety of life-preserving strategies that have allowed it to flourish for tens of millions of years. One of the most important strategies is that eels can live in salt water as easily as they do in fresh water. Their marine habitat spans thousands of miles of almost entirely unfished coastline. Perhaps as many as 47,000 tons of adult eels live in these bays and estuaries. These eels contain a sufficient breeding mass to provide new recruits to the entire range, including those freshwater areas where adult populations are low. That is why glass eel recruitment has held steady for decades, and why eel populations start re-establishing themselves in huge numbers when a dam is removed. No wonder the species has perpetuated itself through ice ages, when its freshwater habitat was glacial, and at other times in ocean temperatures far warmer than we see today. The men and women who study eels, who manage eels, who fish eels, and who wish to build a domestic industry to farm eels share a passion for this special creature. Their deep commitment to sustainability is exceeded only by the commitment to survival and renewal of this magical species itself.